What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes Show. It is Sunday evening. The Yankees took 2 out of 3 in a riveting series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, against two juggernaut teams vying for a pennant race. Scott, how you doing?
I'm all right. I've had better days. You know,
Oh, the Jets.
it's just they're just bringing everything down. To be honest, I hate sports. I don't even know why I watch it anymore.
Or working it.
Or working it or anything. Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah,
that's the sports just makes you miserable. You know, it made me happy when I was a kid. That's it. It hasn't made me all that happy lately, and yeah, man. At least, I mean, Carlos Rodon, I was expecting him to put up a stinker, but he didn't. He did okay. That was something.
Two in a row. The Yankees fixed him. Matt Blake got him throwing closer to the
plate,
lower half
extension on that fastball. Yeah, that was promising. I'm glad he's starting to turn it around when nothing matters. So that's cool. At one point, we were looking at the Yankees this was yesterday before they lost today, which is Sunday.
You got that twinkle in your eye. I knew it because you dropped
it. Just,
in our chat.
The numbers.
6 to go, 6 back at Toronto, 6
They're nice numbers.
6 head to head.
They're nice numbers. You know what I'm saying? They're nice numbers. When you have 6 against the team that's in front of you, and then the other team, Seattle, is going up against Texas and Houston, 10 games, I think, in their remaining, however many, which not very many. They have a lot of tough competition. So, yeah, you could make the argument that if the Yankees beat the Toronto Blue Jays every single time, then maybe there's a chance.
The thing that is a real shame, I mean, let's face it, even if the Yankees somehow squeaked into the playoffs right now, they've got a skeleton crew running out there, so like they would not do anything in the postseason. But the thing that's a real shame is they were so terrible in July and August that they effectively made September unimportant. And September was an easy schedule, as we pointed out a few times. Like, as we were going through the schedule after the trade deadline, I remember you went through the schedule and you were like, August is going to be a gauntlet. All of these teams that are good teams ahead of them that they have to play, and then you get a little bit of a reprieve in September. They were hot garbage in August, made it so it didn't even matter once you got to the easy part of the schedule, which we are seeing now. They're beating, other than Houston, which I believe was September. Was Houston September? I think
Houston was the first week of September, yes.
So other than that, they've played just terrible teams, and they're about to play Toronto, who's ahead of them. But up until this point in September, it's been a really easy schedule, and they have beat up on them. But it's going to be just too little too late because of the hole they dug.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they walked into September and they swept Houston in that series too.
Which was obviously unexpected because Houston's also was at the time needed to win every game they possibly could.
Yeah, so you're looking at that as a, that being probably the one circled in September as plus the division games. But yeah, that was the big competition in the month, and unfortunately the Yankees just couldn't put themselves in a position. And you got guys like Weaver who are throwing the other day, and you're looking around, you're like, oh, who is that? Who is that guy?
Yeah,
and then he pitches pretty well
right now. A lot of that right now for the Yankees. Going back to something you said at the start, you hate sports and they just make you unhappy.
Yeah.
Does any part of you envy people that just watch sports casually and just there for the entertainment? Like, oh, that was a good game. Like, came down to the wire, buzzer beater type stuff. Cool. I'm going to turn it off. Now I'm going to watch, whatever, Office reruns.
Do I envy them?
Do you envy them? Because what the life we have led, okay?
Yeah.
The path we have chosen for ourselves
mm-hmm.
is an unhealthy relationship with a baseball team.
I know. I could have like taken a real passion in art, or something that doesn't yell back at you or doesn't like disappoint you. It's just, you just admire beauty. That's what you're doing. You're going there to admire. You're not admiring the shitty pieces of art. You're only admiring the really good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to a museum, you're not there for shitty art. You're there for the good stuff. You go and you do things like that. You go to a sports event, a Yankee game or Jets game, if you will, and you have no idea what's going to happen. You have no idea. Your heart could get ripped out. You could be the happiest person in the world. So, But the answer to the question is no, I don't, because as much as I despise the feeling of rooting for a really shitty team and it's helpless. It's a helpless feeling, is what it is. As a fan, I love the other side of it. I
Well,
absolutely love the other side of it.
it's
And
been a while though. It's been a
it's been
while
a
over that
while,
other side. It's
and,
like
and that's the tough part is when the when the extended losing streaks and then they continue to multiple teams that you follow. That's when it starts really weighing on you. There's nothing to look forward to from something else, and you have to really start rethinking of your children and what they watch and who they root for. I don't know if you remember, I put an Instagram post up, and I don't post on Instagram very often. This was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. How old is Kemp? He's 6, 5. Might have been 5 years ago. Uh, it was when the Jets got Le'Veon Bell, and
oh boy.
I was very excited about that. And
They sent him to a big contract, right?
it was something like for football annually, it was like 11 million or
Yeah,
something
you
like that
can't
for a running
compare.
back.
You
Yeah.
can't compare.
But I remember saying I had him in a Jets shirt, and it was like I posted something about feeling guilty that he, please don't break my heart, and my dad will feel bad about it, whatever, something like that. So yeah, there's real things,
How many
like,
games did Le'Veon Bell play for the Jets?
not very many. He
More
was
more than
terrible.
Aaron Rodgers? Was it more snaps than Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, it was. So yeah, you have to bring your children into a thing, but sometimes you have no choice, and that's kind of where I am. I have no choice. This is what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Yankees fan. He's going to root for the Jets, and he's going to be a miserable sack of shit in some way, somehow, because of that.
Well, for us,
And I have to live with that.
For us, it was so easy to be a Yankees fan in the '90s. It was every year they gave you the satisfaction that you were looking for.
Yeah.
And then that obviously only lasted a certain amount of time. I agree. I do not envy just regular casual fans, because part of the reason I love obviously the Yankees but love sports is because you follow it day in and day out, and you have that deeper connection with it, and the ups and downs. That's the whole reason we started this podcast. But part of me, sometimes I'll catch myself like I don't have any rooting interest in hockey or basketball, and I'll put on an NBA playoff game because it's the NBA playoffs, and if it's a good game and I can just watch it for pure entertainment,
Yeah.
I do really enjoy that. And I'm like, oh, I see the appeal of that. Just being able to throw something on, not necessarily have a rooting interest other than just wanting to see some competition. And then if you're not watching a competitive game, you just change the channel.
But that's the thing. Like, as a sports fan, one that roots for a specific team, you can still do that. It doesn't mean you have to only watch your team. And I know some people only do watch one team, but when the Yankees are out of the playoffs, they weren't even. It hasn't been a consideration for a while. I will probably watch some of the playoffs this year. Normally, after they lose, like, I don't watch that much, to be honest. Like, I don't watch that much.
Well, you
like,
know why I might watch some playoffs this year is because I haven't seen competitive baseball all season.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I want to see something.
So I'm yearning for something like that, right? Football's different. I think a lot of people who like sports, and if you like football, you can watch any football team. Yeah, which is crazy. That's different. And then basketball. Yeah, I used to watch it a lot. I used to watch the Nets a lot growing up, and I used to watch the Devils. The Devils were my biggest team, or even bigger than the Yankees when I was growing up for a while. But I haven't watched hockey in a long time, and basketball, I really only turn it on when it's playoffs.
Sure,
but I do enjoy that, because then it's the competitive nature of it at that point, right?
And
you're like, there's two exactly. So when it's like watching the Olympics, like you're seeing there will be a determined.
This 100-meter freestyle swim.
Someone's gonna win.
Someone's gonna
lose.
Yeah. I'll watch that. The last bit, honestly, I can say the last baseball series without a rooting interest that I was into night in and night out was the Cubs, then Cleveland Indians World Series in 2016.
Yeah.
Because the Yankees, obviously 2016, they didn't even make the playoffs. And then after that, 2017 and on, the Yankees were contending for a championship, quote unquote, every single year. So when the Yankees were eliminated, I was so bitter and just so like exhausted from their run. I didn't even want to watch the other teams.
Yeah.
Like, I would know what was happening. I would check the scores and things like that. but it has not been since 2016, the Cubs Indians World Series, that I literally watched almost every pitch of that World Series. That was an amazing World Series, and that Game
Well,
7
and
was
that was
insane.
probably because of the whole Chicago situation that was going on. The Cubs
And the
hadn't won.
Cleveland situation, they also hadn't won since the
Right.
40s or whatever. That was an amazing World Series.
But there
from
was
that aspect.
there were
Yeah.
captivating storylines in there. When there's captivating storylines in sports, then it makes it that much more interesting. And people who don't watch sports, I think, then start to tune in, and people who aren't watching a particular team will watch, outside their normal parameters.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I'll see how much I watch of the MLB postseason. I am curious how the postseason plays out this year with the pitch clock. I think that there are some interesting things with the rules and things like that I want to see, because that's one of the things we said from opening day is like, this is great and they're moving things along and they're calling things on guys, which we didn't think they were going to do. But how is it going to play out in postseason games?
Why do you think it's going to play out any different? I feel like we haven't thought about it in a long time. I think it's
No, I
just
don't think
become
it's going to
normal.
play out any different. I'm because postseason games notoriously grind to a screeching halt. Like they take 4 hours, even if it's just a regular 9-inning game.
Yeah.
And so every single pitch has so much behind it in the postseason. A lot of times that would just drag on and on and on. Now you can't do that.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting because I don't think it's going to be much different than I think the
Good.
players
That's
are
exactly how it
so
should be.
yeah, and the players are so conditioned to it at this point now. It's just how they play. So I don't actually think it's going to be a factor in the way things are, and it'll be really hard to determine whether it was a factor or not. It's hard to tell who has any advantage with that. I don't think it really does anymore because they've played so many games. But I think if there's like a big decision or a big call where there's a pitcher takes too long or a batter isn't ready at a particular time, and that's in a key moment, like that will call it out. Yeah, but the
That'll be a huge
gameplay
story.
I don't expect to be different.
And that's exactly what we were hoping for, is that it got to a point where it was just second nature for these players and was not a storyline.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you want to talk about with this Yankees team? You said Carlos Rodon. You thought he was going to pitch a stinker today. He didn't. 10 strikeouts, season high. 6 2/3, season high. No walks, season low.
Yeah. So he pitched well. He was
But they
around the
lost.
strike zone. There was a very, it was a bad luck ball that hit third base,
Off the third.
unfortunately for them, and scored that final run. But yeah, it was encouraging. It's encouraging for him. The problem is now the encouraging stuff I have to wait an entire year for, or 9 months to find out if it actually works. But you can see why he's this guy, and why he's had success in the past as well. And for everything I've seen is when this guy is around the strike zone and is commanding with his fastball, he's a really good pitcher, and he can live with those two pitches. But when he starts missing his spots, like any pitcher, he doesn't have something else to rely on. So I'd say it's even more. It's bigger trouble for him. So it's nice to see at least the product that we thought we were getting play out in a Yankee uniform, at least at some point during the season.
I know you were making fun. I don't know if that's the right word. You were like, how do you sign this pitcher? He's a 2-pitch pitcher. And then if he doesn't have one of those pitchers, he's a 1-pitch pitcher. And guess what? A 1-pitch pitcher is not a good pitcher. And I know.
Unless your name is Mariano Rivera.
Well,
and even he had more than one pitch.
But also he wasn't a starting pitcher. He was a one-inning pitcher. So,
Right.
So I know you were questioning that. Obviously, the guy has the talent because he's proven it in the major leagues over a certain period of time. I question if he's a head case and if he's going to be able to withhold 5 more seasons as a New York Yankee as a starting pitcher. Also, his durability. So the talent is the least of my concerns. It's the durability and the mental aspect, because those two things have been a bigger thing than talent this year. It's like a guy worked back from an injury. He came back in late July and he had a bunch of stinky starts. Okay, fine. That happens, especially when you're coming back from injury. But the stuff with the crowd and everything, and then the fact that he's been injured on the injured list 2 separate times, for a long-term contract, that's what I care about, and that's, I think, going to be a bigger problem. That's going to be the problem with Carlos Rodon, not the talent.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not going to be. Maybe it's a thing here
A good take,
that
Scott. Good
that
take.
it.
Maybe it won't be a
Well,
problem.
but that's the thing. Like everybody has talent in the major leagues, so you
But not
either are.
everyone has talent to warrant a big, massive $28 million a year
Well,
contract.
they just don't have the mental capacity to put that talent to
No,
use.
stop it. Stop
Maybe
it.
they
Stop
don't.
it.
Maybe they don't
No.
have the ability to do that, to execute on a. You see a guy like him
Okay.
that the biggest thing for me, it's not even so much him being able to handle New York. Like I think he can handle New York. I think that he's fine with that. I don't think it
You've
doesn't seem
called
like it
into
bothers.
question his mental fortitude a number of times this year.
The
You
first
called it
time he
after one
threw.
spring training start.
And I'm telling you now, after watching him, I don't think that's the part of the problem. I think the injury piece is a concern.
That's the biggest concern.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the biggest thing from him. And then him using again those two pitches coming back from injury, I think that's going to be very difficult. And and if something does go wrong, if he's not feeling right, if it's not, then yes, those two pitches, whether he has talent or not, I think it can be a problem. And I don't think it's going to get better as he gets older.
Do you guys think that there's a chance that, maybe he was, I mean, I know he did have some decent success in Chicago, but, he pitched 15 games last year in San Francisco with a right field that's much, much larger, pitching fastballs high and away, sliders down and in. That works in San Francisco in a big ballpark to right field.
But like you said, Chicago's a bandbox.
Yeah, but I mean, his best season by far
was
he had some struggles in Chicago too.
He had some up and down seasons in Chicago. Like, do you think there's any, he might have to develop something different to get outs in the stadium? You can't pitch the same way. You just can't.
No, but I also think we overplay the Yankee right field wall because we've looked at this a number of times. The Yankees park factor is like middle of the league. It's not like one of the biggest offensive parks in the league. Yes, down the lines are short and right field has the short porch, but the gaps are still big and center field's massive.
No, I totally agree with you. I'm more like overplaying how big right field is in San Francisco, and you're really able to. I mean, it's almost impossible for a lefty to go over that wall where
Well, then, hopefully the Yankees thought of this prior to giving him a big contract.
But you get what I'm saying? He pitches fastballs high in the zone away.
Yes, he's a fly ball pitcher.
Lefty, and he's a fly ball pitcher.
He's a fly ball pitcher, and
I'm with you on the Yankee Stadium is got it.
But Garrett Cole's a fly ball pitcher too. He's a strikeout and a fly ball pitcher.
I know.
Which Rodon is the same.
Yeah, and
but
Garrett Cole's
one of those guys has more pitches than the other guy.
Yeah,
I'm telling, like, it's concerning to me. They only have two pitches. That's concerning to me. It is a concern because you don't have a third pitch to go to when one is not right. And if you look at his career record and you see the inconsistencies, how do we know that part of it is because of that? Like, yeah,
brace yourself for the storyline of Carlos Rodon developed insert X pitch next spring training, just like Clark Schmidt developed a cutter this prior spring, right? Like, there's always going to be something.
I think, especially as you get older and you continue to make yourself better, that he should absolutely do that. I don't see a downside of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and God,
I don't know how he hasn't done it at this point. To this point,
he's been able to get by on. He's been able to get by on stuff. I think Sabathia talked about this in one of the earlier R2C2 episodes, where when he had to develop a different style of pitching once he lost his stuff later in his career, and he talked about how he wished he did it sooner, because he felt. Remember in like 20. I'm gonna mess up the years, but like there was a couple year period, to call it 2 to 2.5 year period of Sabathia with the Yankees where he was bad, and he was still pitching like he was 2000. His mentality was still 2009 Sabathia, but his stuff wasn't 2009 Sabathia. He hadn't got to the point where he had to develop different pitches and a different style of pitching, and so he wished he had done it sooner. I think I don't know, maybe Rodon should look at that sooner because the stuff is gonna go. That's the first, like, physically you're gonna go, and he's still gonna have probably 3 seasons left on this contract.
Yeah, so develop it now, please, so we can see it. For the majority of the contract, because if you're able to throw a fastball and you're able to throw, two pitches, you can throw a third pitch. That's it.
And that goes, so the pitching is a good segue into the next topic. But before that, I want to tell you guys about Game Time, which is our preferred ticketing app because it is the easiest way to buy tickets to whatever you want to go to: sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. The app has so many cool features and is easy to use. It shows you trending tickets, what sections the best deals are in. It calls out cheap options and flash sales, and much more, so you can make an informed purchase. You can also tap the little all-in pricing button on there so you don't get hit with those fees or surprised with those fees after you get to checkout. That's always nice as well. There's also event cancellation protection so you can buy with confidence. I love the app. You get those images of your seats before you buy. It's a fast buying process, couple taps and you're done. And the tickets go directly to your phone. No digging through your emails to find them. You can also share them easily with friends if you're going with a big crew. Snag tickets today without stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Download the app, create an account, code BRONX, $20 first purchase. Boom. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We were talking about Yamamoto before we recorded, and his first name was tripping me up. So he's a 25-year-old right-hander.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Sure. Go with that. He's obviously we're talking about the top Japanese pitcher out of the MPB that is likely going to be posted this offseason. Bob Clappish put an article out in NJ.com recently that Cashman and Omar Minaya were over in attendance for his no-hitter on September 9th, and they liked him. So I feel like anyone would have come out of that stadium that day and said, I like that pitcher that didn't give up any hits today. But hey, at least Cashman and Minaya said, no, that guy's got something.
Maybe they did it. Maybe he did it, just to show them how good he could really be.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be a New York Yankee.
Well, it would have been something if he gave up like 7 runs in 2 innings and they came out and they're like, love this guy. Yeah. This is the guy for us. But Clapper said the Yankees are very, very interested in pursuing him this offseason. It's going to take a massive deal in the neighborhood of 7 years, $200 million. He's 25 years old, which is the age that Tanaka was when he signed with the Yankees. And the Yankees gave Tanaka a 7-year deal. It was all throughout his prime. Then they had that opt out, and he I think extended for a year or two after that as well. But I don't know. We said this before, but to share with everyone, is pitching the problem with this team? Like, if the Yankees go out and make this their big acquisition this offseason, how does that improve what we've seen this year? It doesn't. But
of course they have to still go after guys like this on the pitching market.
They still have to go out guys like this, but this should not be the number one.
You got to do both. Yeah. These are not mutually exclusive. You got to fix the team and also improve. It doesn't mean you fix the team and then don't improve in other areas. You fix the team on the offense. I mean, who's to say they're even going to be able to do that? You could marginally fix the team, and then if you overcorrect on one area, which is something that they have done in the past, then endo facto, your total improvement might be that much better. So you got to look to find. He's not going to. Cashman go. First of all, Cashman's going to be the GM, right? Cashman's going to be the GM. Yep. Okay. Second of all, do we fully expect Cashman to just fix the team in one offseason? The man hasn't been able to do it in 10 years. Okay. And now we're expecting like all of a sudden things to be fixed. No. Go get the talent. All right. Go get the talent. Pray to God nobody gets hurt. Try to improve the team as much as possible. Make Omar Minaya and whomever else, give them some more weight in how they in what the decision is, and do the best you can. But a guy like this, of course they should go after him. Of course they should.
So something in the article that I didn't like was they said the Yankees will be content to wait for Jason Dominguez, meaning wait for him to return at some point mid-season.
Did they say they will, or was it a question? I thought it was a question. If they would be willing to wait for him.
No, I read it that the Yankees believe in Jason Dominguez and they will be content to fill the gap in the outfield until his return.
Yeah.
And that's what that's kind of what they have tried to do in the past with people coming back, and that has never worked for them. What did the Yankees do last offseason? They got Carlos Rodon. That was their big addition. They re-signed Aaron Judge. Of course, awesome. We all wanted to re-sign Aaron Judge, but that wasn't an addition to the Yankees. They re-signed Anthony Rizzo. Also, we liked that deal. That wasn't an addition to the Yankees. The only addition in the offseason really significantly was Carlos Rodon. They didn't address any position players last offseason. And they went into a season with a giant hole in left field with Oswaldo Cabrera, who we did like, but now we see is probably a quad A player, and Aaron Hicks, who was Aaron Hicks.
And these were
Who's
choices
going
that
to the postseason.
These are choices. Yeah, he's going to the postseason. These are choices that they made based off of things that obviously didn't go well. The way that they were evaluating certain things didn't work out the way that they wanted to. So can they make adjustments? Can they change? And here I found the quote from it. It says, yada, yada, yada. This largely depends on whether the Yankees can wait 8 to 9 months for Jason Dominguez to recover from Tommy John. If so, count on seeing a fill-in like Kiner Falefa or Esteban Florial until midsummer of 2024.
Yep. And you know what? I took that because, again, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, Bob Klapisch is basically just a mouthpiece for Brian Cashman.
Well, I mean, there's been a couple of times where it's been proven that, maybe he's not in with the guys as much as anymore. Either way, they got to put some. Let's put some stuff out there and see what the reaction is. Let's put some stuff out there and see what the reaction is. Okay, that's could be.
Didn't take a genius to know that wouldn't get a good reaction.
Well,
Cash.
Let's just put it out there and let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what the reaction is. Let's do the thing. And
so
Bob
the outfield going into
it.
opening day next year is going to be Aaron Judge and question mark center field, question mark left field.
No. So this is where they do have to make these they have to adjust in the way that they have been doing business over the past however many years, and they do have to address all of the things that we have talked about. But they also do have to go after and be competitive for the best starting pitcher that's come out of Japan in quite some time, not named Shohei Ohtani. Like this is a guy that they should be absolutely going after. And the only reason why they wouldn't be going after this guy is because of dollars and cents, money.
Yeah.
And if that's the only reason why you're not going after a player like this, then what are we doing?
Well, if I do believe Hal operates on a budget, and so if he says you have X dollars to spend this offseason and next year on the payroll, and if Brian Cashman chooses to use that on getting this guy and not upgrading position players, I think that is a problem.
Right. Well, you could. I hope they look at money spent on a guy like this who's bringing in a very different market as well as something that's a little different. Like these dollars are worth more, I'd say, for a contract for a player that's coming over from Japan because of the marketability of said player and because of just what he brings audience wise. I think that that should be part of a determining factor, and you can't use that dollar spent on a player like this the same way that you would use that same dollar on a free agent that's been here. Like there's nothing coming with the other people. So I do think that they're weighted. They should be weighted in the way that you evaluate profit and how a player is going to hopefully do well on the field, but then also what can they do for you? Butts in seats, eyeballs on games, things like that.
Yeah. No, I think that probably is a factor, like the marketability and but also they're the Yankees, so they're not exactly in desperate need of marketability. Like
Japanese, but they want it's just more dollars. It's more dollars available to them, and that is clearly what they've been determining everything off of. Mm-hmm. So, that should be a factor, and they should look at it differently. Now, it doesn't affect what they pay him, and that goes against the tax threshold, and that will be still
and that
a penalty.
I think is a huge factor in this, is that Hal is still looking at the tax threshold, and okay, what am I going to be paying on tax penalty? Yeah, fine, great, we're doing better ratings in Japan, and we've got more people coming over and buying merchandise and stuff in stadium, but tax threshold numbers are what they are.
Yeah, that is true. And I hope that Hal sees things differently now. I hope that this season has given him different glasses. I hope
now
that he's
they're in the
able
hunt
to see
for the playoffs again. So
6 games left, 6 games back.
This season, it's God. All the teams ahead of the Yankees just fell flat on their face, and the Yankees were just too far out of it to even take advantage.
Seriously, I mean, you look at the standings and the way that things have been going down. This was prime for the taking from some team, just like surging up and just yanking it from pulling the rug out from someone, and no one's doing it.
both the Yankees and the Red Sox just Spider-Man meme pointing at one another, being like, "You take it, no, you take it." We got a couple of injury news and injury updates. So Everson Pereira apparently tripped on the steps at Fenway Park, and he's been dealing with a little bit of a leg issue, said Aaron Boone.
You know damn well that those stairs are not evenly spaced.
Yeah,
you know
Fenway
damn
Park,
well those risers are
notoriously-
probably a 2 inches higher than any other riser on stairs in modern ballparks.
The Fenway dugout is notoriously like very, very cramped. Like you look at Stanton and Judge standing in the Yankees dugout at Fenway Park, and their heads are basically on the ceiling. It's ridiculous. And I've also heard that the visiting clubhouse at Fenway Park is a shithole. They haven't touched that thing since basically like decades. And obviously that's not the case for the home, but like, fine, whatever. I guess that's gamesmanship.
Yeah. Is it really that bad on the visitor side? I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, I've heard that the visiting clubhouse at Fenway Park is very, very small. Like guys are like shouldered, like sitting like this, cramped up, like at their locker because there's barely enough room for 26.
Well, yeah,
Major League
there's no
Baseball
room.
players.
They can't create more room. That's the thing. That's
no, it's not a shithole in the sense. No, they did. They created more room on the home side.
Did they tunnel it?
I don't know what they did.
They take,
but
over...
like it's not a shithole like the stories of the Oakland Coliseum where there was like literally toilets overflowing and rats running around.
That's what I'm envisioning. That's exactly what I'm envisioning.
You know what I've heard through the grapevine? You know who the next general manager of the Boston Red Sox is going to be?
Who?
Billy Beane.
Oh, okay. There were rumors about him last year.
There were rumors. No, he's
in the ownership group now, right? He's in the Fenway.
He's like some advisor. He's like some advisor to the Fenway Sports Group, but he couldn't be his role with the Oakland A's, and he had to be only for the soccer because it couldn't be like within the same. I don't know, but yeah, I've heard rumblings that John Henry and Billy Beane are gonna link up.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we'll come full circle. Jason Dominguez is going to have his surgery, Tommy John surgery, on September 20th, and it's going to be a 9 to 10 month recovery. So looking at some point June or July of next season. Their hope is that Dominguez can resume swinging a bat before spring training next year, which will allow him to be engaged in the baseball activities during spring training.
Yeah, that's best. I mean, best case scenario is you want this kid coming into spring having the ability to at least partake in some areas, and then when they break, he's able to really start ramping it up. So I'm going to be optimistic on the side of recovery. I'm hoping that he can come back a little sooner, but we'll see. I don't want him to rush back either.
Was he getting second opinions on if he needed surgery? Because it took him a while to announce the surgery, and like they were kind of. There wasn't like anything on it. Like I think he was getting second opinions if he needed surgery.
I hope that they're getting second opinions.
Yeah,
they
should, I know.
No matter where you are, you should have a second opinion about, especially a kid like that whose trajectory is to be a superstar asset for your team. Like, yeah, you need to get second opinions and make sure that this thing goes well. But again, confidence in this. In the medical staff around the New York Yankees. Who knows? I think the doctor, I looked him up, the guy that's performing the surgery is also the head trainer or head something with the Texas Rangers. So he's in baseball. It's not Dr. James Andrews or that office. So
Texas. I feel like everyone with the Rangers is getting surgery, like DeGrom. And then another one of their pitchers go down.
I mean, Scherzer went down too, but I don't know.
Yeah, Scherzer just went down.
Those are just old guys that they got that had injuries.
Yeah. Well, speaking of injuries, Frankie Montas, Boone said might make it back before the season is over.
Sweet, that's awesome.
Final day of the season starter, Frankie Montas.
I don't even know how that possibly happens. Wasn't he just reporting?
He threw one inning on September.
That's today.
Actually, today.
Did he throw?
So
he threw one inning,
scheduled to throw
and he's going to come
Did
back to play for the Yankees. But he just threw one inning, so maybe he's going to come back as a
reliever
guy.
You need him. Yeah, much needed relief pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to need him. this is, when they go and they beat Toronto 5 in a row, and then that 6th game is a crucial game. Bullpen suffering. Get rid of a guy. Bring up Frankie Montas.
Don't be surprised if the Yankees sign Frankie Montas in the offseason.
Why would I be surprised?
I don't know.
He's injured.
But
He's an injury guy. They love
I
that.
could see them signing him to one of those 1 year plus 1 year option incentive type deals. Because I don't think he's going to get anything on the market. And I don't know. I feel like Cashman is going to need to save face with that just to see, I got something. I got him. See, he's real.
He's going to save face or it's going to look so bad. So this is before we get into the whole offseason thing, because that's kind of where we are, where I thought Severino could possibly be, you can only have one of those guys, right, towards the back.
Maybe yeah, you can't count on 2 of those 5.
I'm just saying. So you're looking at if you're looking at one of those guys. I could see that happening. They're going to go for a value piece somewhere. They have to. They have no choice but to do that. It's just in their blood. It's in his blood.
I mean, even if you sign one of those guys as like a flyer type thing, you don't even count on one of them to be in the rotation.
Yeah, I don't know if the contract's going to go the way you think it's going to go. I think there's going to be more opportunity. You think
there'll be more people in on Sevy or on Montas in the offseason?
I don't know what Montas is. I don't know what he is right now.
Exactly. He hasn't pitched in 2 seasons or season and a half.
So I would say Sevy at that point. But again,
then he was the worst pitcher in baseball this year.
Yeah, but he and he got hurt again. So I don't know. They're pretty close in on the list of being desirable, I'd say.
Yikes. All right, a couple other news items before we wrap it up, because not much else to talk about. Anthony Misevich took that liner off the head on Friday, and Boone went to visit him in the hospital. Doctors said he's in a pretty good spot. That was obviously very, very scary. 100.6 miles per hour line drive up the middle off of his head. That is
that scares the shit out of me every time.
Nightmare type stuff.
I pitched in softball on Tuesday for the first time in 7 years, and every single pitch, I'm just like, yeah, it's going to come back. It's going to come back hard. Luckily, this league is a wood bat league, so it doesn't come back that hard. When you're rolling out there with the DeMarini illegal, aluminums, like some assholes do, those things it's coming at you 130 miles an hour. It feels like
those things were awesome.
Yeah. So it's scary. It's really scary. So when I get sick to my stomach when I see plays like that, it's awful.
College.
I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he's seemingly going to be okay.
Yeah. College still uses aluminum, right?
Yeah, they do.
Which is nuts. There was an article in SI that I was confused about. It basically was like, oh, will the Yankees cut ties with DJ LeMahieu this offseason? And I just want to read this paragraph. Based on his production over the last 3 seasons and the $45 million still owed to him over the next 3 seasons, which is not a lot of money, it is fair to say that LeMahieu won't command the same return that he may have once commanded. A young prospect, a depth piece, and some cash could be the package that New York would receive for the star. On the other hand, given his age and salary, there may be few suitors for LeMahieu, meaning Cashman might look at waiving the veteran the same way he waived Bader and Donaldson. Do you put LeMahieu in the same category as Bader and Donaldson, and why those guys got waived? Those are apples and oranges.
Completely different. They have no bearing on one. Or Bader and Donaldson have no bearing on each other. They're very different scenarios as well. So no, it doesn't make any sense, especially after seeing, LeMahieu the second half of the year
played pretty good. He's got an 8,
much more like himself. Yeah,
838 OPS in the second half. If he can be an 800 OPS guy for next season, and that might be asking too much at this point, right? I don't know, but if he can be an 800 OPS player who can play around the infield, that's valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point you're looking at him as probably third baseman, right? that's the way I would be looking at it. There's
Yeah.
just too many options up the middle at this point. And his athleticism, I think at this point, plays better at third base. So it seems like the Yankees have a lot of guys that can fill positions and be flexible in that. So no, to answer your question wholeheartedly, no, them waiving him makes no sense. He's pretty affordable for what he is. He's not a problem. He's not a problem. And they would be, I think it would be tough to improve the position that he plays, both total war, you're looking at offense and defense, because he's such a sure thing on the defensive side as well. So no, he makes a lot of contact.
You're saying it
as well.
would be tough to improve him as a third baseman?
Improve the third base position.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you take him out of off the team completely and you replace with another person that they would either sign or make a trade for, I don't know. It would cost a lot to do that.
Exactly, especially
and they're not going to do that. So I don't think they could replace that.
Right, because they're not going to cut LeMahieu, have to pay him his $15 million a year, and then go sign a third baseman. What they would, if they would ever cut LeMahieu or trade LeMahieu, offload some of his money, they would just do some sort of combination of replacements at third base, and yeah, that would not be an upgrade over LeMahieu.
Right. I feel a similar way about Gleyber Torres. It's like,
Gleyber Torres is in a much different spot because he's going to be a free agent after next year.
But you're not, again, replacing. I have to look at what you're going to replace him with these players, and then what the Yankees are willing to do to replace that player. And I don't think it's there.
Why I wanted to trade Gleyber Torres at this deadline because he would have given you a return. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to just waive Gleyber Torres. I'm not that stupid.
No, I know. I'm beyond the conversation of waiving somebody, because that was stupid and just an article being written at this point. But it's just more about the replacing that player. Whether you waive him or
I agree. It would be hard to replace what the production Gleyber Torres has given you at second base this year. You're not just going to replace that easily. No. But if you got a piece back for him that's valuable and you could replace 80% of it, I would have done that, is what my point was.
Yeah. I'm not even going back to your point of this season. I'm talking about moving forward. When you look at a player, understanding that the Yankees are operating under constraints of budget. If you're going to replace a player, you better damn well have a good plan to do that. And it's probably on the trade market in some capacity. But a guy like LeMahieu at third base, a guy like Gleyber at second base, it's going to be difficult to improve those positions given the way that the Yankees approach their business. And honestly, they're not part of the problem.
But I also stand by, as long as Gleyber Torres is on the New York Yankees, they will never win a goddamn thing. Because that play the other day in Boston where it's like such a Gleyber Torres inning. Hits a double, leadoff double. Awesome. Great. Good job, Gleyber. Almost makes a stupid play on the bases where he ran on a ball in front of him, caught himself, and went back to the bag. And then on a ball he should have scored on, he didn't because he just stopped running, assuming the play was going to be made at the plate, and then the ball got past the catcher, and he had just stopped running. So it's just like the full Gleyber Torres experience.
Yeah. He does mindless things sometimes. It's true.
Yeah.
It's part of the player.
Hard to replace that.
It's very difficult to replace that.
Oswaldo Cabrera has been hitting a little bit recently, and interestingly, he did take a left-on-left at bat. Obviously, he's a switch hitter, but over the weekend, he took a left-handed at bat against a left-handed pitcher. We were trying to find his minor league splits. We're unsuccessful in finding them, but obviously if you're a switch hitter, in the minors, it's probably because you had good splits batting right and left, or else you would have abandoned it at that point. So it's interesting. I think he just was feeling more comfortable left-handed at the plate. So I don't know. I mean, I stand by Oswaldo Cabrera, probably a 4A player.
He could certainly be and fill in as a platoon guy and take shape. It's not like your career is determined by the first season and a half that you get in the major leagues.
He can be a bench player. Is he a starter? Is he a starting major league player? No,
I don't think he's a starting player. No, unless he goes to Oakland.
Yeah, Logan.
It is interesting. I am just because you can look at his splits by season. You just can't look at them for his total minor league. So in his last full minor league season, which would be 2021. He had a 962 OPS as a left-handed batter and a 610 OPS as a right-handed batter.
Wow.
So that's in 112 games as a lefty and 68 games as a righty. So that's not a small sample size.
What about 2022? Because he basically had a full season in the minors last season.
2022? We can do that. Let's see.
Yeah, the sample's always going to be bigger batting left, but
so it was 833 in 90 games as a left-handed batter, and then 721 as a right-handed batter in 51 games. So definitely started to correct, but still, I mean, over 100 points better as a lefty. So
okay,
he did say he's not giving up switch hitting though. He did say that. So
well.
It's. I mean, it's still a better option than him staying on one side of the plate and being overmatched. Like those, if you did the splits, if you stayed on the left hand side and just did lefty righty splits for the pitcher, the splits would look very different.
Yeah.
So his ability to go to the right side and have that, have that. There's always going to be a discrepancy between the two. You're going to be better at one or the other.
Yes.
But that discrepancy would be larger, most likely, if you stayed on the same side.
I see what you're saying. He would be better than a, call it 700 OPS hitter facing left-handed pitching, if he was batting right than if he was batting left.
Correct.
But it is harder for him if he's going to be not an everyday player. If he's going to be a role player, a bench player, it might make more sense for him to just focus on hitting left-handed because it's less thing to do.
He's also less valuable for the team. I wouldn't do it if I were him. I would 100% stay a switch hitter. Him being a switch hitter and a utility guy gives him max value.
How much value is that?
Max value. For him, at that he's maximizing the value. And remember, who was his favorite player growing up in Venezuela?
Who was it? I forget.
I'll give you a hint. He played for the Astros. Then he played for the Yankees.
Right. Marwin Gonzalez. You think the only person to ever have Marwin Gonzalez as their favorite player was Oswaldo Cabrera?
I'm sure there were other kids in Venezuela looked up to him as a guy who made the major leagues. He had some good years, when he knew what pitchers was coming.
This is going to wrap it up. We did 47 minutes somehow. I don't know how. We always seem to do that. Anything else you want to talk about?
I want it to be interesting still. I don't know why, because this is part of the pain thing.
I want to ruin Toronto's time. I want to make it ruin Toronto's season. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. And it would make the last week of watching just a little bit more interesting. Make it a little bit more interesting. So that's all I say. Let's either make it interesting or just or lose every game
and get swept this week in Toronto.
I need either
or sweep
to
them.
Be interesting, or I need a below 500 finish in last place. But Boston's making it look very difficult to do that right now. So, yeah, I just want change. Is that too much to ask for? I don't know how to get there.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get there. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys in a few days.